All right. All right, welcome back, guys. Or welcome to the video. It's Eric. Let me get some coffee in me here. Okay. Okay, so basically what the title is talking about is I was watching a video that I was watching. So this is like a topic that needs to be talked about like a lot in our industry of trucking. I was talking to my buddy Dirt Broke about it on the phone. He was kind of talking about, or some of the things that if he did it over again, what he would do differently. Then I can't remember what his name is. Dirty, why don't you put a link to his video, or at least they can go check out his channel. I think it's Leak, something like that. But anyways, talking about the industry and basically, all right, sounds good, Dirty. Basically, the industry and how the trucking industry kind of gets the short end of the stick all the time, and it's kind of like the distributors, the middleman, and then the guys that pay all the expensive tax insurance and stuff and the taxes, and they do everything. They do the most work, but they get paid the less. It's kind of what he was thinking. I don't 100% agree with it, but I understand where he's coming from. And I did tell him this in the video, and basically he replied with a really he gets where I'm coming from. So, anyways, when you are, I'm gonna start this off by giving a little bit of my background. So my background isn't in trucking, and my background isn't in mowing lawns. My background is in being a salesman, basically hustling and working very hard. Okay, I'm that's kind of what my background is in, being smart and being whatever else isn't really what it's not what I got. No, I'm just like a normal person, and I know a couple good things, and I'm willing to work hard, and I can save to and know enough that I need to save and then reinvest. But when I was broke and had no money, I got the opportunity to move to California and basically work for a guy that made multiple $1 million a year, and I was one of like 3 employees that worked for him. So I got to really work very close with him. And before I took the job, I thought of myself as basically being an entrepreneur and basically like somehow I was working for him, getting a paycheck. He was telling me what to do, but because I wanted to be an entrepreneur and it was like a small business, I thought like that I was kind of like an entrepreneur, even though I wasn't. I was an employee of a company. He hired me, he gave me a job, he told me what to do, and I did it. When I was, and basically where I'm going with this is that when I was there, before I got there, I thought that I would have like this easy schedule, and I would put in a couple hours worth of work, and basically I'd be balling, and that's kind of what I thought being an entrepreneur was. A lot of people do expectation versus reality videos, and that was my expectation. The reality set in real quick when I was gonna go snowboarding in the mountains. And then all of a sudden I had to work this. It was a weekend day, but I had to work, and all of a sudden, I was working and not snowboarding. So I was like, oh wow, this isn't what I was thinking. So, but the best part about it, and the reason for a lot of my success, is because I got to watch this multimillionaire work out of his house with them, and come to find out that he was a producer. And what he did was, he didn't trade time for dollars. He basically produced. And a lot of people say don't trade time for dollars and stuff like that. But the main thing was, he got up in the morning, even though he didn't have to. He had a schedule, and he worked over 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, or 5 days a week. Then he traveled every weekend, and he usually had Sunday with his wife. Um, After he got back from flying wherever he was flying that weekend. And a lot of times I would watch their dogs. I'd, sleep at their house, whatever. Get to drive their fancy cars to get them washed. He didn't pay me to wash them, he paid me to drive the car. He had so many cars that he couldn't drive them all, so that they'd get, they basically rot if you don't drive the cars. So he would do this. But from the outside looking in, you always basically, what he taught me was is that you got to have more work than you know what to deal with, than you know how to handle. The most important part about running a business is sales. You got to have leads coming in, you got to have business coming in, you have to generate revenue. And so I've taken that to heart through doing my lawn care business and my trucking. So and now this brings us back to basically this guy, what I talked about with Dirt Broke, and kind of my belief, which is a little bit different than Dirt Broke and the other guy, but in reality it's the same. So one thing is basically, you want to be in a position of power, and the only way that you can be in a position of power in trucking is to be able to have more work than you can handle. Because once you don't have more work than you're able to handle, then you start calling people back that you shouldn't be calling back, and seeing if there's any way that we can do the work for cheaper. Or you basically, they'll tell you this is all that you can do it for, and then you'll say, oh, well, I guess I'll do it, for that or whatever. Like, you just don't have any power. But if you can get to the point where you have so much work coming in, when somebody wants to start playing games, you can say, okay, wow, you're getting people to work for that, good for you. You hang up, and then you go do something else until they call you back and say, hey, I like you guys' customer service, can you do this load or whatever. So you got to know what the going rate is. I have clients, and I've said this before, that some of them are the lowest paying clients that I have, but I still work for them every day, because it's easy work, and it's reliable, and it's there every day. And so, like, with the small handful of clients that I have, most of them any given day will take more trucks. So you don't want to be in a position where you're only working for one client, they go away, and then you don't have anything else going on. And I told this in basically, so I feel like if you want to be the most profitable that you can be in trucking, this gets back to Dirt Broke and this other guy, Leak, I believe his name is that you want to somehow start to become your own client. So Leak, sorry, I have the nephew named Leak, but Leak is, I believe, in the car hauling industry. So for him, a practical way for him to be his own client would be for him to start to have a broker's license in selling cars. Then when he's out, and he might be picking up cars, let's say, I know he probably doesn't, but I'm just saying, let's say he's he lives in Minnesota like I do. He goes and gets a load of cars from Texas. They don't have rust on cars in Texas. So maybe from a small something just starting real small. Let's say he can haul 7 cars. He gets a load for 6 cars. Maybe he picks up a 7th car in Texas, and then when he brings it home, he starts storing up for his used car lot, or he just sells them, just, whatever. He's got his broker's license and he just basically uh, sells them. What's going on, babe? Steel Toe is my wife's YouTube channel, just so you guys know, even though she doesn't do YouTube stuff, but she's got a channel, so she's coming in here. So that is a real practical way for Leak to be able to become his own client. Now, and then for me, so I'm just going to do practical things here. For me, I do end dump work, dump truck work. Mostly that's what my niche is. So there's no reason that I shouldn't have a way of selling the rock, to wholesale the rock and retail the rock, to become my own client. And then when I do that, now I actually have a business that requires the needs of my trucking. But here's what I want to say. Even though I have that, I still am going to take advantage of other people that are willing to do the work for cheaper than me while I'm still building my other company. But what I basically now have the power of is, by having a separate company, which is going to be called Deliver, or which is called Deliver Contractor Supply. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. So basically I don't want to give an excuse as of, and this is because of Dirt Broke lighting a fire under my butt with this, even though he didn't know it. But this is what, I'm just going to toot my own horn. This is what successful people do. They listen to other successful people. They don't give excuses, and they figure out a way to get things done. So from listening to what Dirt Broke said, I was like, wow, you know what? Let me get started on this now, because I've been talking about it for a long time. I don't need a piece of land to do this. I can become my own client right now and take this more seriously just by picking up the phone and being the middleman. I can start my own landscape supply center, an online delivery-based landscape supply center. So that's what I'm doing. I'm being like an Amazon for hauling dirt in my area. Now, when I pick up the phone and I need help, I'm going to call, because I have trucks. I can do everything myself, but I don't want to do it myself. What I want to do is I want to build a network, and now find other trucking companies that wouldn't help Twin City Hauling Out, which is the name of my trucking business, because they don't want to work for a broker. But what they will do is they will work for a shipper. They don't even have to know it's Twin City Hauling, but they're really working for me. So now they're going to go in, pick up a load, do this stuff for me, and then when they can't fulfill it, I have the power to do it myself if I want. Or the big thing about this is control. So if things drop off, now you have the control and the power over the workflow to basically stock up, or call people and say, hey, it's raining, do you want 10% off on it's raining, or do you want 10% off on your products today? Because now you can keep money coming in for your employees. Now, one thing that I've done before doing what I'm doing now, learning from one of my very first mentors that took me under his wing. And by the way, he didn't really take me under his wing. He was actually very kind of like Jeff Gordon Ramsay, the chef guy. Very abrasive, very confrontational, but nonetheless, I still learned a tremendous amount from him just by watching what he does. But anyways, so what I used to do and still do to this day is I do the same thing by controlling work, by grabbing as much work as I can. And then what I learned from Adam is you always say, yes, you can do that. And then you just figure out how to do it. And then your mind grows, you get new contacts. You have more people that are willing to work for you that don't have the work that need you, and it works out. So that's how I feel like in his video, he kind of almost Leak's video, he kind of, it's almost like a thing where he's like, he doesn't even know if trucking's worth it. I feel like he probably knows that it is, but one thing that I want to come across as from somebody that's doing it just like he is that I feel like it is worth it. It takes time. It just depends on what you're doing, and if you got something else going on that's better, then by all means do it. But if you don't, I mean, I feel like lawn care, trucking, it's just a come up to get to a different place. It's a you use that money and then you go and you do something else with it eventually. You know, is yes, kind of my thoughts on it. So. Oh, there. Let's see. I was gonna say a couple other things about it, but if anyone wants to say anything, I'm gonna wait because I got to think about what else I was gonna say about it. Well, I'll give you. Okay, so I thought I'll give you an example of why I think trucking is arguably better than being a shipper. Okay, so or being a like, you know, the big boss would be the shipper. Okay, so and I gave this example to Leak in his video. So there was a time, and if you guys have been following this, but there was a time growing my business that I was working day and night, and I was working for a huge, traded company on the stock exchange that was in the oil and gas industry. So the oil and gas industry was big boss, the shipper. And then there was a broker, and then there's the truck driving, the trucker companies. Okay. Now, one thing is that I really strongly encourage is if you guys can, the long-term play should be for one to go direct, own your own equipment. Don't let anybody support you for a fee, basically. Okay, so go direct, own your own equipment, and then somehow try to become your own client. Okay, but I don't think it's a problem to start. You got to start somewhere. Okay, but anyways, this is the reason that I think trucking is so crazy good and exciting, and it goes against everything that I just said. The company that we work in, they, you know, and one thing that Leak said was that, you know, these companies have a lot of freaking money tied up in things. I mean, way more than a truck, really. Way more than a truck. They have land, they have buildings, they have equipment. And as a trucking company and a long-term play, we want all that as well. But you gotta have, you know, this place that I'm in right now, it's justified because of the trucking company. I need this, therefore I'm building long-term wealth because this is appreciating in value over time, even though the trucks are depreciating in value. Okay, but we're gonna go back to this shipper's analogy as the shipper having the power, which I don't 100% agree with. And this is why, because that shipper basically the shipper went bankrupt. They're done. They bought the land, they bought the building, they bought the multiple locations, and then all of a sudden the price of fuel dropped, and they weren't profitable at the price that they needed it at. So what ended up happening was the whole business collapsed. That company approached me with moving all of my trucks over to them. They asked me, what would it take for you to move all your trucks over to us? We really like you. You have good customer service, which is a huge thing in trucking that no one talks about. We want to deal with you. and we want all your trucks, we want all your assets. And I kindly said, no, I can't do that because then I don't have any power. Obviously, I didn't tell them that, but I don't have any power if I give them all my trucks. Then all of a sudden, when things slow down, well, we got to change the rate, which actually happened. The rate actually changed. But what then can I do is I can either decide that it's still profitable at this price, I still want to have a relationship with them, or I can say, so what ended up basically happening is that company is totally out of business and shut down. My boss, I'm friends with him on Facebook, that worked for that company isn't even there anymore. The guy that wanted me to move all my trucks over there. What I did, which was a huge win for me and very lucky, okay, but it never would have happened if I wouldn't have had the trucks available, is I ended up getting a dedicated haul because I had the trucks available and somebody else was out. I don't know. They messed up basically. I did not lower the rate. I got in for the same rate as the other people, but basically I'm still in business in this multi-gazillion dollar entity that is on the New York Stock Exchange is in the toilet. And so I think that's powerful. And that's basically what I want to say about it. And some of it goes against what Leak talks about, but I really, at the bottom of my heart, feel like he is on to the right thing. It's just, I think trucking is more powerful than, what he is basically saying, how he feels. I also feel like when in an industry, there's always a season and a time where one industry is busier than another and they're going to give you more money to do something. Like if you're going to want to go work for FedEx not on their broker side where you're not leased on to them, or UPS, everybody knows right before Christmas. The produce industry, everybody knows it's in the when produce is ready, whenever that is, I don't even know. Car hauling is slow, usually in the summertime. It's booming in the wintertime. Sand and gravel is booming in the summer. So you can just take your little trucking business and move from industry to industry if you have the contacts, which is very powerful. So I feel like you should do that, run with it, and moving forward, keep on buying assets that eventually go up in value versus liabilities that don't. Don't be out here trying to show off with fancy cars and crap that doesn't matter, long term. That all it is throwing money away. So I think I got one question just now. Hold on here. Were you the guy that asked me about I don't think it was you, about how to get free dirt? I'll just briefly, if it is, I'll give you a chance to say that, and then I'll just answer your question real brief. Then I'm going to shut this video off, and then I'm going to do another video. I'm just going to go live and talk about some other stuff in a little bit here. Just want to get a couple videos out here, but so right now I'm hauling rubble and sand and gravel, and then landscape material today. So that's kind of what I'm doing. What did you say? I've been following you for a while. Let me ask you, how is the end dump trucking business in the Twin Cities area? The end dump trucking business in the Twin City area is good. I feel like it could always be better. I feel like I'm living the dream, so I love what I do. We are slow. We are noticeably slow. That's another thing too about what's going on right now is it's like every industry is slow. So there's no thing for the trucking industry to like pick up and move to. Everything's slow. It's different. I mean, we're going to be affected across the board because everybody is being affected, you know. So uh that is I mean, that's just what it is. Even if you're a direct shipper or if you're a shipper or whatever, you can't move to something else. I mean, you can because look, you got GM is now moving into building respirators or whatever. So that's kind of like, you know, cars aren't selling, we're going to move to respirators. It takes them about 2 months or a month to do their retooling. A trucking company can just decide to haul respirators tomorrow. So that's that. Newberg, you're on here a little late. I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna be coming back on. I'm just gonna be going live. I'm gonna be talking about different subjects here. And thanks for hanging out, guys. And I'll be back on if anyone wants to kick it. So thanks. See you later.